Welcome to Sacrifice 2. So today I would like to present some concrete common techniques for you to sacrifice your stones, and we're going to do that through solving four problems. So we'll first look at the problem on the lower left. Last move white Atari'd at f5, and now it's black's turn to play. Um, think about where would you play as black when you are facing this Atari. So first of all, if we play out the connect here, this is the worst choice among all the choices you can have. Let me first state that. The reason you don't want to connect at e4 is mostly because all of your stones here, okay, all these 7 stones basically are doing absolutely nothing, pretty much nothing. It's a very inefficient bunch of stones. And on the contrary, this f5 stone provides a lot of utilities for white. So white can Atari here, but most likely white's going to extend here. And now that creates a ladder. So this is a terrible result for black because how inefficient the stone is. And this kind of group can be under attack very easily. So we need to avoid making inefficient shape like this. Okay, so now, if we Atari on the bottom, this answer is already a lot better than just connecting here because this stone is actually providing us with ways to get into white's territory here. So if white captures, now we can just play out the h3. So this is this answer is already a lot better. Another possibility is for black to make the ko here. So if black makes the ko, white is not going to capture. White's actually going to extend out. And now black's shape is very broken because there's a ko here. And also, if black is just cut off, right? This is a very broken shape for black. You try to fight this ko, white can just take the ko. Even if you win, the gain for you is not very big. Say, for example, if it's for whatever reason black's able to win this kill, for example, like you say you cut over here, I can just answer. Then you let's just say you play out the move on the outside, right? I'm not going to affect the problem over here. So even if you capture and white is able to gain an extra move, say here, that has a huge amount of profits, and then you capture, the result of this is not so great for black, right? Black only gained the bottom territory here, and that's it, right? It's not a big deal for white to lose the code, basically. So that is also one of the worst choices for you to Atari here. The textbook choice is for you to Atari from the outside. And now white captures at e4, then we can Atari, and then white connects. Then we can even double Hane here. And white is in a very serious problem. Like this group is under a lot of pressure. So when black Ataris, white will also follow the idea of sacrifice and probably just Atari on the outside, or probably capture first and then Atari on the outside. When black captures, white can Atari from the outside. So as we can see from this very simple problem, that none of the players really want to play e4. E4 is the most useless move that you can play on the board right now because it achieves absolutely nothing. Either white or for black, as long as you put a stone at e4, it doesn't do anything. So we don't want to put a stone at e4. It doesn't matter about the captures. These stones have absolutely no values. So black is saying, hey, please capture at e4. White says, no, thank you. We are going to Atari from the outside. And and that's it, right? Both players are trying to uh, control the outside instead of playing stones in this local area. Okay, so that's our first idea for the sacrifice. Next problem. Let's take a look at. Let's just review our concept, right? Let's look at the a very common shape that is happening on the left top. So for similar ideas, we do not want to really connect here because if we connect, our C14 stone is not achieving much, right? We don't want our stone to be placed at C14. Um, the problem with this is, first of all, white in this local variation, white can even just get the stone out. But even if white doesn't do anything and just play somewhere else on the board, this is already very inefficient. So, the correct move, as you have probably guessed from the last problem, is the Atari from the outside. Now, there are two variations for white. First, if white just gets out like this, then we can just connect. White cannot push anymore because we're in Atari, and this is a snapback, right? We can see this is a snapback. So white has to go back. We Atari from the outside. White is forced to connect, and now black doesn't even have to save the B13 stone, right? Black can just sack the stone again and then play somewhere else. And this is a perfect shape. This shape has no weakness and has a lot of influence toward the center. Even just playing three space extensions is a very solid area already. So what's the correct move for white? Let's say for white just takes, then we can double Atari here. And then when white connect, black is able to Tanuki again. Even if black has two peeps, still it's not a big deal. Black can Tanuki, and this is a fairly good shape because it has no weakness, has no cutting point. The way you judge if a shape is great or not is just look at its cutting points. There's no way to cut this shape, right? Because it's all tiger's mouth. All right, so so at this point, what's the conclusion? Well, white is not in a rush to connect these two stones, right? So this is very, um, I guess for single digit Q level players as well as low Dan level players, connecting at C15 looks like a must play move. But actually, because it's a gote, so maybe a move on the outside is a lot bigger. So have that concept of sacrificing in mind, right? We don't have to save every single stone that we can see on the board. We have to look at those stones based on their values. Now, for example, when we look at the bottom right corner, if black was to try to capture white's P3 group to two stones over here, basically, white is going to have to do whatever it takes to save it. Why is that the case? Because these two stones, unlike these two guys, they're doing a lot more, right? So if you have watched my first video on sacrifice, you will probably realize that a, a two stones or whatever number of stone that is cutting two groups off, and the condition is that the two groups are insecure. They're not alive. In fact, they're so not alive, like none of them has even one eye. It's very important to drag these stones out. When we look at the stones on top, what do these two guys achieve? Well, absolutely nothing because black is safe with them, and black is safe without them. So black is pretty much just safe uh, regardless. So whether you connect or not, it does have some value. First of all, it's 4 points, but also it's a lot more than 4 points. There like two peeps and there's Atari. But white is not in a rush to connect because 4 points plus some security problem is probably not that big at this point. But my point is, we are comparing uh, the values of these two zones against these guys. They're not comparable. Like these two guys have way more values because when you drag these two stones out, both block groups have to worry about their lives, which means you can gain you can gain a lot of profits for a very long time. Then we're gonna look at the value of this F4 stone. um, the value of this is absolutely nothing, right? With or without it, black is not having two eyes. Black needs to deal with this group regardless, and it has nothing to do. There's the fact that the F4 stones exist doesn't even matter, right? No one cares about this stone. So that's the value comparison you need to have to be able to sacrifice. I don't want you guys to just be like, oh yeah, I know the concept of sacrifice. I'm gonna sacrifice everything. I'm gonna sacrifice my 45 point dragon. I'm gonna sacrifice the two stones that are cutting my opponent's groups off. I don't want you to do those sacrifices, right? Like those will lose you the game. I want you to understand that which stones you can sacrifice, right? This one, absolutely. You just feel free to like throw it away. It's no problem. All right. So speaking of that, we're gonna look at the problem on the over here, right? So it's Black's turn now. Black needs to figure out a way to solve this problem, right? Um, it's very terrible because now we cannot ladder. Let's say, for example, we just play out this. We can see we cannot ladder this this group. So what do we do here, right? If as Black, um, White's already alive here. We can all see that. Now, a lot of players, I would assume, just play out this, right? And hoping that White's gonna sacrifice the two stones. But if he has watched my current video or the video before, you know that there's no way I'm gonna run this out because these two guys are way too important, right? This is the biggest area on the board. These two guys are the most important stone on the board right now. I don't care what happens on the outside. Maybe there's I don't know, a giant move. Let's say, for example, I don't know, just for illustration purposes, there's a block here, right? That's going to generate you a lot of profits. It looks like a giant move. I do not care, guys. If you, oh my God, what did I do? Okay, didn't expect that to happen. Well, so yeah, I'll just go back to this variation, whatever. So yeah, Black extends. I was saying that um, you know, I don't care what happens on the board right now. You absolutely just have to drag these out because it creates life and death problems in this case for both groups. Um, so first of all, let's not talk about whether you can kill one of these groups. You probably can kill one of these groups by just dragging these two guys out. But even if you don't, right? Even if you're like, I'm terrible at killing. I'm just, I can't do it. Let's say we somehow Black slides out. That's no problem. We can keep extending when Black plays a two-space extension. We can attack. Uh, then we start to see the value, right? A lot of my viewers don't understand the value of these guys, which is understandable. It takes a lot of time to appreciate this group, but now I can just show you on the board that see Black is in trouble, right? Black needs to run, and then we can jump and look at this. Look at what we have here. That is the long-term profits I'm talking about by dragging this group out. When you don't drag this group out, when you don't, right? Like you just say, hey, you know what? I like this area. I'm just gonna do it right now. Then Black can fix by capturing in a fancy way. Okay, now both groups are safe. All of a sudden, it changes everything over here. This guy might later on be under attack, right? When I pincer from the outside, right? I can attack this stone. Now, because I'm safe, you thought you'd be fine here. You thought, hey, I gained a lot of profits, but I didn't. Okay, I'm going to do something else, like playing here. Guess what? When I am safe, when I am strong, now none of your groups are strong, right? This is a very important idea in the game of Go. It's for you to take the initiative. Don't wait for, you thought, okay, well, Black is only capturing my two stones. It's not a big deal. But once your opponent has enough savings, he'll start to go to the bank and just be like, I'm gonna cash out. How am I gonna cash out? Because I'm strong. Look, none of your stuff on the board is safe. I'm gonna invade here. Now this is not an invasion. This threatens this group. It cuts off this guy, right? Now you have to run, right? Then I keep going. Now this guy has to run for their lives. These two guys have also have to run for their lives. Now it's White who is in trouble. Just think about the importance of stones like these, right? Especially when it's about securities, when it's about um, it's not just securities for one side, it's a mutual security. When I get myself out, my group was able to gain security from me running out and investing in this area. Okay, but that's beside the point. I want to talk about the um, but how does black deal with this, right? We talked about all of that stuff, but we need to solve a concrete problem of how black can deal with this situation. This is a very serious situation, as I have described. If white runs these guys out, black is in very serious trouble. So, to solve this problem, we need to think about sacrificing, right? So for sure, since we can't ladder the two stones, one of our groups is gonna die, right? This is just too serious. These cutting stones are too serious. So we have to find a way to die in dignity. So the first thing we think about, well, we're gonna choose a group to die. Our group over here has 4 stones, so it's obviously more. It's worth more than the 2 guys over here. So we need to sacrifice the 2 stones. So what is the sacrifice? Let's say, for example, we just play here, and then we hope, hey, you know what? Maybe whites can play this, then I can Atari on top, right? Maybe I'm gonna sacrifice like this. Um, right? I'm hoping for something like this and then sacrifice. But we actually have to make sure that this thing works because white does not allow you to sacrifice anymore, right? If you don't play correctly over here, white can turn here. That's why not only ideas but also concrete techniques matters. Like concrete moves matter. When you play this move, it's gonna fail because white's gonna turn here. At this point, black is in trouble, right? White doesn't even care about the shape. Like it's making all these ugly shapes, but as long as white runs out, the thing I talked about just keeps happening. Like black has to worry about life and death for both groups. So that's not gonna work. The correct move is for black to jump here. So a lot of times when you can't ladder, you can think about the jump. You can think about the net. It's a suji, but obviously you have to verify it with your reading. So this is a very common driving sequence for sacrifice. Right? Very common in your game. White has to push, and here you cannot connect. Right? If you connect, white is going to extend, and then this is giant amount of territory here. Right? Without these 2 guys, it's already very big. Now you throw in 2 extra points for white inside. The correct move is for us to hane here. White cannot hane, white has to keep running, and then we can follow up. This is a driving sequence. White only has 2 liberties, has no time to do anything on the outside, so he has to Atari. We Atari, white counters, and then black connects. Now look at what happens for black, right? This is all wall. This is a very solid wall happening, right? At this point, it's probably game over, just because how well the sacrifices has been done, right? A lot of times we think about sacrifice like, yeah, that's because I had no choice, but actually no, we actively sacrifice the 2 stones, and we're able to gain a tremendous wall towards the outside, right? The entire outside is now controlled by black. And honestly, if I was playing as white, I'd probably resign at this point. That's how strong the sacrifice was. I will have to resign. You heard me well, right? This is not playable for white. Just because this giant influence that goes from the top to the bottom, left to right. This is insane. So when black plays out this, what's the correct move for? If I was gonna play as white, I would just probably Tanuki here. I would use the concept of sacrifice to counter the sacrifice. I won't be running out even. Right? I'll just be like, okay, cool, cool. You captured my 2 stones. I'm just gonna hope for a later on, not right now. Later on, maybe just do 1, 2, and then I'll be satisfied with that. I'm not gonna try to run the group even, just because how strong the sacrifice was. All right, so that's the solution for the problem here. And then finally, we will look at this white's turn. White needs to sacrifice this stone here. Well, Well, the problem is it's already sacrificed because this guy is not going to run, right? So the thing is because it just can't run. So why do we even sacrifice? It's already dead. And then this shape probably happens from time to time in your game as well. The correct move is actually for white to drag out a dead stone and even sacrifice more. This is very common in Go, right? It's just a very common thing in Go. When we are about to be captured as one stone, we want to drag out a second stone so we can sacrifice more and gain more profits from the outside. White has to block. In the exercise, black has to block just for the sake of exercise, but it's actually a mistake because of the very strong sacrifice that white is able to have. But we need to understand how to sacrifice properly. So you can pause the video, think about it for a little bit. When you get back, white is going to turn here. Now black has to block. Okay, we read this out. This was what's going to happen when we try to drag out dead stones. Now, white can throw in because there is a shape problem. Atari once, Atari twice, and we can already see black has a very bad shape now. Now, if white just say, all right, sacrifice completed, success, mission accomplished, actually this is not so great for white because black was able to protect the main profits anyway. The correct move here is to understand that this stone can also be sacrificed. It's sort of like the stone we have at C15 here. Correct move is for white to clamp. This is a very nice Tetsuji. Black cannot push here. Black only has two liberties. So, so let's say, for example, if black Ataris, white is going to Atari, and then black captures, and then finally we can just connect and fix. And then just like the result that we had over here, this is a fantastic result for white, right? This is a game over result for black pretty much just because the influence. But if black resists, the result's not going to be much better. When black Atari is here, we need to understand that this stone can be sacrificed. So we Atari at here, black takes, and then we can Atari. And then when black connects, finally we can Hane into the corner. And now we can see that black got captured, right? This corner actually got captured. And now look at this beautiful group of black, right? It's doing absolutely nothing. It's just a chunk of meat that's not doing anything. And that is also a game over position for black. So these two examples shows you how strong a sacrifice can be. Sometimes you can simply win a game with a sacrifice. Say for example with this local variation here. The best move is probably for black just to say, you know what, I understand there's something horrible that's going to happen if I try to capture you, and then white can actually capture the corner. So you might see this shape from time to time. So just keep that sacrifice in mind, right? We can extend, and then black. If black plays here, the consequences is so bad that is probably the resign time for black. Like black probably has to capture, and then we reach this position, and then this is a winning position for white pretty much, just because how strong this wall is. And then black is all squeezed into the corner, and the corner only has 9 points. Believe it or not, the corner only has 9 points. Right, this is 6 points, and then there's extra 3 points over here. So that's really bad for black, right? Even if black was the one who captured. So that is the power of sacrifice. All right, so today I presented to you guys with some concrete techniques that you might, these shapes actually happen in games. So whenever you see them, you know what to do, but also it gives you some ideas about sacrifice in general, and also like a little bit of reading involved obviously when you sacrifice, it requires to read out. Say for example, over here there's this driving sequence. You have to make sure that you're not misreading a liberty or anything, right? Let's throw, for example, I don't know, I'm just making things up, but let's say, for example, you know what, I love sacrifice, but then you're like, okay, let me sacrifice like this, right, without any reading. Oh, then white's gonna cut you because now you're missing a liberty, right? So your reading doesn't even work. That's a very serious problem where even white can just push out like this, right? So if you hane, then um, yeah, if you hane, white can just sorry out. This is probably still fine for black, but I'm just saying that um, sacrificing, it requires some reading. In our case, this is working perfectly fine. White has to go back and then we Atari capture connect. It's a very beautiful sequence for black. Oh, so at the end, I want to also give you guys an exercise. Uh, when we look at the shape over here, what I said was that the solution is for black to Atari, white connect, um, and then white connects everything for whatever reason, and then we decided to play elsewhere. So next, white decided to peep here, right? So we said this shape has problems. White says, okay, you made a sacrifice. That's good for you. Now you're gonna suffer from the consequences of the sacrifice. I am going to peep here. If black connects, I'm going to peep again. If you connect, then I'm going to either attack in this way or something. Hey, look, your group is still not safe. You sacrifice, but eventually, if I'm able to capture the entire group, it's going to be a problem for you. So I want to leave you guys as an exercise. Um, like I want you guys to think about what would you do as black in this case, right? So that's an exercise for you. Feel free to post below the video and then subscribe to the channel if you haven't, just so you don't miss out on future videos like this. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.